Harry, you'll be late. The bell's about to ring. I'll catch up, okay? By the time Harry reached the bottom of the marble staircase, Cedric was at the top. He was with a load of sixth-year friends. Harry didn't want to talk to Cedric in front of them. They were among those who'd been quoting Rita Skeeter's article at him every time he went near them. He followed Cedric a distance and saw that he was heading toward the charms corridor. This gave Harry an idea. Pausing at a distance from them, he pulled out his wand and took careful aim. Diffindo! Cedric's bag split. Parchment, quills, and books spilled out of it onto the floor. Several bottles of ink smashed. Don't bother, said Cedric in an exasperated voice as his friends bent down to help him. Tell Flitwick I'm coming. Go on. This was exactly what Harry had been hoping for. He slipped his wand back into his robes, waited until Cedric's friends had disappeared into their classroom, and hurried up the corridor, which was now empty of everyone but himself and Cedric. Hi, said Cedric, picking up a copy of A Guide to Advanced Transfiguration that was now splattered with ink. My bag just split. Brand new and all. Cedric, said Harry, the first task is dragons. What? Said Cedric, looking up. Dragons, said Harry, speaking quickly in case Professor Flitwick came out to see where Cedric had got to. They've got 4, 1 for each of us, and we've got to get past them. Cedric stared at him. Harry saw some of the panic he'd been feeling since Saturday night flickering in Cedric's gray eyes. Are you sure? Cedric said in a hushed voice. Dead sure, said Harry. I've seen them. But how did you find out? We're not supposed to know. Never mind, said Harry quickly. He knew Hagrid would be in trouble if he told the truth. But I'm not the only one who knows. Fleur and Krum will know by now. Maxime and Karkaroff both saw the dragons too. Cedric straightened up, his arms full of inky quills, parchment, and books, his ripped bag dangling off one shoulder. He stared at Harry, and there was a puzzled, almost suspicious look in his eyes. Why are you telling me? Harry looked at him in disbelief. He was sure Cedric wouldn't have asked if he'd seen the dragons himself. Harry wouldn't have let his worst enemy face those monsters unprepared. Well, perhaps Malfoy or Snape. It's just fair, isn't it? He told Cedric. We all know now. We're all on even footing, aren't we? Cedric still looking at him in a slightly suspicious way when Harry had heard a familiar clunking noise behind them. He turned around and saw Mad-Eye Moody emerging from a nearby classroom. Come with me, Potter, he growled. Diggory, off you go. Harry stared apprehensively at Moody. Had he overheard them? Professor, I'm supposed to be in herbology. Never mind that, Potter. In my office, please. Harry followed him, wondering what was going to happen to him now. What if Moody wanted to know how he'd found out about the dragons? Would Moody go to Dumbledore and tell on Hagrid, or just turn Harry into a ferret? Well, it might be easier to get past a dragon if he were a ferret, Harry thought dully. He'd be smaller, much less easy to see from a height of 50 feet. He followed Moody into his office. Moody closed the door behind them and turned to look at Harry, his magical eye fixed upon him as well as his normal one. That was a very decent thing you just did, Potter, Moody said quietly. Harry didn't know what to say. This wasn't the reaction he had expected at all. "Sit down," said Moody, and Harry sat looking around. He had visited this office under two of its previous occupants. In Professor Lockhart's day, the walls had been plastered with beaming, winking pictures of Professor Lockhart. When Lupin had lived here, you were more likely to come across a specimen of some fascinating new dark creature he had procured for them to study in class. Now, however, the office was full of a number of exceptionally odd objects that Harry supposed Moody had used in the days when he had been an Auror. On his desk stood what looked like a large, cracked glass spinning top. Harry recognized it at once as a sneakoscope, because he owned one himself, though it was much smaller than Moody's. In the corner on a small table stood an object that looked something like an extra squiggly golden television aerial. It was humming slightly. What appeared to be a mirror hung opposite Harry on the wall, but it was not reflecting the room. Shadowy figures were moving around inside it, none of them clearly in focus. "Like my dark detectors, do you?" said Moody, who was watching Harry closely. "What's that?" Harry asked, pointing at the squiggly golden aerial. "Secrecy sensor. Vibrates when it detects concealment and lies. No use here, of course, too much interference. Students in every direction lying about why they haven't done their homework." "Been humming ever since I got here. I had to disable my sneakoscope because it wouldn't stop whistling. It's extra sensitive. Picks up stuff around about a mile around. Of course, it could be picking up more than kid stuff," he added in a growl. "And what's the mirror for?" "Oh, that's my faux glass. See them out there, skulking around? I'm not really in trouble until I see the whites of their eyes. That's when I open my trunk." He let out a short, harsh laugh and pointed to the large trunk under the window. It had several keyholes in a row. Harry wondered what was in there, until Moody's next question brought him sharply back to earth. "So, found out about the dragons, have you?" Harry hesitated. He'd been afraid of this, but he hadn't told Cedric, and he certainly wasn't going to tell Moody that Hagrid had broken the rules. "It's all right," said Moody, sitting down and stretching out his wooden leg with a groan. "Cheating's a traditional part of the Triwizard Tournament and always has been." "It didn't cheat," said Harry sharply. "It was sort of an accident that I found out." Moody grinned. "I wasn't accusing you, laddie. I've been telling Dumbledore from the start he can be as high-minded as he likes, but you can bet old Karkaroff and Maxime won't be. They'll have told their champions everything they can. They want to win. They want to beat Dumbledore. They like to prove he's only human." Moody gave another harsh laugh, and his magical eye swiveled around so fast it made Harry feel queasy to watch. "So, got any ideas how you're going to get past your dragon yet?" "No." "Well, I'm not going to tell you. I don't show favoritism, me. I'm just going to give you some good general advice. And the first bit is, play to your strengths." "I haven't got any," said Harry, before he could stop himself. "Excuse me? You've got strengths if I say... Oh, excuse me? You've got strengths if I say you got them. Now think. What are you best at? Harry tried to concentrate. What was he best at? Well, that was easy, really. Quidditch, he said. And a fat lot of help. That's right, said Moody, staring at him very hard, his magical eye barely moving at all. You're a really good flyer, from what I've heard. Yeah, but I'm not allowed a broom. I've only got my wand. My second piece of general advice, said Moody, loudly interrupting him, is to use a nice, simple spell that will enable you to get what you need. Harry looked at him blankly. What did he need? Come on, boy. Put them together. It's not that difficult. And it clicked. He was best at flying. He needed to pass the dragon in the air. For that, he needed his firebolt. And for his firebolt, he needed